Welcome to March Malcontent, Episode 9, the preseason to the April Angered Amiibo Tournament Series. For our first match, we're going to have Captain Falcon against Luigi. Alright, looks like we're going to be on Skyworld. As a reminder for any latecomers, hazards are off, so the platforms aren't going to be breaking. But that does also mean that we're going to see a lot of bouncing around the inside. That's kind of what the Amiibos do. Mainly, you know, when they hit hard, they make the other person bounce around. A lot of them do get the techs. Like, there you can see Captain Falcon got the floor tech. Getting the tech on the ceiling would be more advantageous, and Luigi didn't even try to recover. That is very unfortunate. Tries to get a combo off of Captain Falcon, but then he just sails past the ledge. He does recover that time, and he at least knows to hit Captain Falcon with the up smash. As is tradition, all the Mario Brothers have a pretty good up smash. At least tradition for Smash Brothers, I should say. And Captain Falcon misses the tech and he dies. Luigi's up smash is probably the least notable of all the Mario Brothers up smashes. They're all the headbutts. And funny enough, Wario basically has the same up smash too. His is better than his other smash attacks, but Mario's smash attacks altogether are pretty underwhelming because he has so many other things he can kill you with he doesn't particularly mind. Luigi's up smash is, I would say, slightly better than Wario's. At least he has more of a use for it. It's still not as amazing as Mario's, and that one isn't even as amazing as Dr. Mario's. So I guess there's the tier list for those four characters' up smashes. That is, of course, affected by how often the characters are going to need to use it, damage, knockback, all the works. I thought about making a tier list video at one point until I decided that it was going to be way too subjective to actually reach the final cut. I pitched the idea to someone and they seemed to like it. So maybe it'll make a comeback in the future. It's just that currently I can't see it making it as a whole video, even if it would be split into parts or anything. And that's not even a how good is this Smash character tier list video. It's a lot more subjective. I'm not going to tell you what it's about though, that way if it never comes out you're not going to be disappointed or anything. That's the second time Captain Falcon has died to that ceiling. He was at a very high percent, so you don't really need to feel too bad. But also, he's having a hard time racking up the percentage on Luigi. Captain Falcon showing off his amazing run speed, just running back and forth across the stage while waiting for Luigi to finish whatever he was doing. Luigi starts a combo of up tilt into up air. Luigi is a character who has a lot of combos, so you normally expect to see a lot more than that. Luigi does grab the ledge even though he was facing the wrong way. The platform on the right, you can actually go up through the bottom. You can see there that Luigi did precisely that. Luigi gets another tech. And Captain Falcon gets a tech on that roof, the roof of his bane. And that was certainly an interaction there. That's going to take Captain Falcon's last stock, which means he's not going to be making it into the tournament this year. And up next on the docket, we have Lucina against Bowser. Alright, we're going to be on the Fire Emblem stage. I believe this is called Arena Ferox? There's an X in it, but I think it's Pharaoh. But I'm gonna have to double check that because that might be the name of the other Fire Emblem Arena stage. Turns out Fire Emblem is kind of fond of arenas, which kind of does make sense. I imagine a lot of fights take place there, whether it's plot related or probably practices. And it would be a lot more memorable a stage than empty field where you fight this one guy. Entrance to the village of Cathaway or something like that doesn't really make for a memorable Smash Brothers stage. I'm sure they could make it work. At this point, if anything ends up in Smash Brothers, I I think they would make it work and it would be good. I myself was personally a skeptic when Ridley was, well, before Ridley was announced for Smash Brothers, simply because of the size discrepancy, and that it turns out they did a good job. So, now that he's in the game, totally fine with him staying. Ouch, that is a very painful down throw to endure. Lucina recovers high onto that ledge up there. That does help her avoid the wrath of Bowser, but she didn't avoid it for too long, ended up dying for it. She needs to make up about 2 stocks now, and that's really hard against a... Well, first of all, that's hard against a heavyweight, because they live longer than everyone else. And if they get a couple of good moves in on you, then you're going to die. Bowser showing off his tech roll. It's not a really great tech roll. There it is again. It just takes too long for the animation to finish. He doesn't have enough invincibility. This is, of course, fine because the character needs to have some sort of weakness. He is the heaviest character in the game, and he's one of the fastest runners, which is certainly a common trend for the Bowser character I've seen over the last, I don't know, I'd say 10-ish years. You expect that because he's a turtle, and Bowser just lost a second stock. This is a lot more doable for Lucina. Anyways, you would expect that because Bowser is an enormous turtle, that he would be slow because he's a turtle, although in the Mario Brothers games that's called being a Koopa. And because he's enormous, the square cube law isn't doing any favors in the agility department either. And one of the things they decided to make him more threatening is to make him not incredibly slow and lumbering, and it is incredibly effective. Bowser is going to recover from that. You see Bowser in the Mario movie, and he is a threat to be dealt with. If you see him in, of all things, Dance Dance Revolution Super Mario Mix, he's doing like side flips and back flips. And on top of that, he also breathes fire. So, you know, watch out for Bowser. And here we've got Bowser Jr. and R.O.B. JP for Japanese. It's the Japanese R.O.B, but it has the American skin. Gotta bring it up every time he's on screen. And we do have Bowser Jr. We did just have his father in the last match. Something that has never really been covered in the Mario series is what exactly is the family tree of the Koopa clan, I guess I'd call it? Originally, people thought that the Koopalings were supposed to be Bowser's kids. Then, at some point, that got confirmed as, no, they're just 7 lovable rascals that Bowser just sort of, like, is a father figure for, but not his children. Which is a very particular distinction without too many consequences. They could have instead said, oh yeah, they're all just adopted. And that would have been much shorter, but they didn't. And then there's the case of Bowser Jr. We do know he is Bowser's kid. We don't know anything else. There's never been anything about, for example, Bowser Jr. having a mother. Actually, now that I say that, there is a little bit in Super Mario Sunshine, his first game, Bowser Jr.'s, I mean, where his introduction, he claims that Peach is his mother. And in a terrible act of writing, Peach doesn't deny this. She sort of just shows up and acts confused. Great spike from R.O.B there. Peach just acts confused, like, oh, I'm your mother? Which is a very interesting reaction to that sort of thing, especially because at the end of the game, Bowser admits to Bowser Jr., hey, Peach isn't your mother, I just told you that to motivate her, and Bowser Jr. says, yeah, I figured that, but I want to get Mario next time even more now. So, you know, they have that little bit of family bonding of, oh yeah, this Bowser Jr. is taking up the family business, I guess. But it also still does leave the blank of, Peach really should know that she doesn't have a kid. For comparison, imagine if you wake up tomorrow and I tell you that you have read the entirety of War and Peace and Bowser Jr. got stuffed out of his recovery. That's his second stock, already gone. Imagine if you wake up and I tell you that you read the entirety of War and Peace, and instead of telling me no you didn't, you say, huh, that's weird. Yeah, that's the level of logic they have going there. but it's a Mario game. They're never known for their plot. They're known for being fun platformer games, and Super Mario Sunshine is. In retrospect, I don't think any of the Mario games are bad platformers. There have been a couple of weird games with Mario in them, either as some sort of licensing deal or allowing other people to use Mario. It was a phase Nintendo tried, and man, did it not work. They're a lot more... They play their cards a lot closer to them now, which, to be fair, does mean that the games that have their licensed characters in them are normally better. R.O.B barely dodged... So he spot dodged the up smash from Bowser Jr. That's very risky because Bowser Jr. has a very long-lasting up smash. He might have also avoided it because the platform might have been just too tall. Once you're not playing on the tournament general accepted stages, the heights of the platforms and what moves can and can't hit them, most people just don't have a lot of data on that. Which, to be fair, I can't imagine they would. That's normally a fact that only comes up in tournament play anyway. Bowser Jr., despite having a terrible opening, is really taking this back. Hitting R.O.B with chains of up airs. R.O.B finally responds in damage. Not completely responds, but he responds with something. But he's also at a high enough percentage that a random smash attack from Bowser Jr. might just end his tournament career. This year, at least. Good read on that forward smash. Bowser Jr. gets R.O.B in the grab, does not kill him with the throw. Not every character has a kill throw. Goes for the cannonball. R.O.B dodges it. That is a strong move to watch out for, and forward smash is going to kill R.O.B. And here we're going to have Daisy against Shulk. Now, I gotta say, I really have no idea which way this match is going. Usually in a lot of other matches, I at least have an idea, and sometimes I am pleasantly or unpleasantly surprised. I don't think ever unpleasantly surprised. I'm supposed to be proud of these amiibo. I'm never disappointed that a different amiibo was to win. Although now that I say that, we have had some particularly embarrassing failures. Anyways, these two characters, I really don't have much data on. I mean, already I only know so much about every character, but this could really go any which way. Alright, I would like to amend my previous statement. This might not be a great day for Shulk. I will say that this stage's layout is a little disadvantageous towards Daisy just because it's very tall with a lot of platforms, and Daisy is a very horizontal character. Shulk can be either one depending on which Monado art he chooses. Which I'm not going to go over that again, I feel like I talk about it way too much every year. Smash Monado down air, though, is able to secure the kill on Daisy. Shulk goes very low and far for that recovery. He does actually make it back. Gets comboed by Daisy's up tilts. I've never seen that move used more than once in a row, ever. Not even by me. And Daisy just misses the rock. Alright, it's back up in the air for anyone. Shulk's in Buster mode. He's going to be taking more damage from all of Daisy's stuff. He, of course, will deal more damage if he can actually hit Daisy. But that's an if. Shulk does make it back to the rock, even though he's facing the wrong way. He should be able to make it that back. Yep, he did grab the ledge. Gets in off stage, uses Jump Monado. Possibly unnecessarily. In fact, he went so high he actually got punished for it. Up smash on Daisy, but while Jump Monado is out, I think Shulk is weaker. Oh, I can never remember all the specifics. Now that I say it, I believe Speed Monado makes him weaker and Jump Monado gives him less weight, or effectively more knockback. I don't know which way it's programmed, but you get hit farther away to make up for the fact that you can make it back off stage from if you have your double jump, pretty much anywhere. Shulk with Jump Monado becomes one of the most agile characters in the game, with the only characters competing with him would be Kirby with Jump Monado, and Hero with Accelerado, which is effectively Jump Monado. And Shulk does not grab the rock at 7%. Of all the ways this game could have gone, I can't believe it got decided by who failed to recover more. And now we have Jigglypuff against Min Min. Gotta state, this is not a matchup I would be excited to play. Jigglypuff is a very floaty character who needs to be staying just out of your range at all times to be effective. And Min Min has very long noodle arms that can actually cover the distance of some entire stages. And she is a very horizontally focused character, which I suppose Jigglypuff is, but less inflexibly. Jigglypuff can do a little bit more, especially with her multiple jumps and whatnot. Either way, whichever character you're playing, I would just consider this an absolutely miserable matchup. The Amiibo, of course, are slugging it out, and Jigglypuff proves that if you just rest in the middle of nowhere, you're going to get hit. As a general tip against that move, you cannot be put to sleep by it when you're in midair. There's only so many effects in the game that can do that. In fact, now that I think about it, it's only Hero's Sleep, which is a spell that he can get randomly. Not even Peach's Final Smash will put people to sleep in the air. But I think it does have some other weird interaction on them. It's a little bit hard to test. Anyways, to punish Jigglypuff using Sing, just jump on her and hit her with your down air or something. Characters with an especially long reach can hit her on the other side of the singing. A thing to know, though, is that the Sing hitbox is effectively an incredibly weak hitbox that applies a status effect to the opponent, which critically means that you cannot super armor through it. Great rest from Jigglypuff, by the way. So you cannot super armor through rest because if you make contact with it, then you get put to sleep, even though you had armor. That mostly affects Little Mac, who has armor on all of his smash attacks. For some reason, he needs a very particular spacing to forward smash Jigglypuff during Sing. I've seen it myself, and weirdly enough, it gives him a momentum boost, so he slides across the stage while asleep. It's pretty consistent, too. But also, if Little Mac were to just wait a half second longer for Sing to end, he would get the punish easily. A little bit of a change of topic, but I know that a lot of people, when training Amiibo, will often have the problem that they don't have any spirits unlocked. And so these are usually people who only have the one Amiibo they're trying to train. They try to give it all the best spirits, only to find out they don't have them. So then they try to figure out the quickest way to get them, and getting a specific spirit is actually pretty difficult in Smash Ultimate. There are a lot of them that spawn on the World of Light playable map, so you can get them consistently through there if the spirit happens to be behind any sort of story progress gate. That just increases the amount of time you have to play to unlock that spirit every time. And that was a terrible rest from Jigglypuff. She almost died for it. She probably should have if Min Min had thought to charge her smash attack. So if you only have the one Amiibo and you have no spirits, you can load up the spirit board and you'll find out that it only has one available entry for spirits to spawn in. You get more of them as you play the spirit board more, so that's not usually a problem as long as you've done it before. You get to use the spirits in normal matches, by the way. It's a game rule you can enable, so there's no real detriment to having them, and there's a motivation to having them too, because it gives you more options and possibilities. You can even use them against your Amiibo that have spirits to try to even the playing field if you so choose. Back throw's not going to kill Jigglypuff. She has enough jumps to easily make it on stage, and she uses them all to go to the stratosphere for some reason. So So, the easy method for getting the spirits you want in Smash Ultimate is you just unlock any spirit that comes your way. Which sounds a little bit unintuitive, as in, for example, I want this one spirit, well, I would unlock any other spirit before I get them. Smash Ultimate is generous, in that if you don't have a particular spirit, it shows up more often. There are a couple spirits you do need to play World of Light specifically to unlock, but those aren't usable spirits. They're slightly different. They basically unlock extra features that can help you unlock even more spirits, or train them up or whatever. So, if you have a spirit, you're less likely to get it, because Smash Ultimate is more likely to feed you the new spirit. If you've played any other previous Smash games, you'll know that, for example, collecting trophies, if there's 800 trophies and you have 750 of them, it can be really hard to find new trophies. In fact, most people's Smash Brothers accounts, if you could call them that, or the memory on their system, will usually have, they've unlocked almost everything, but there's 1 to 3 things that they've just never gotten to appear in the random generator. In Smash Bros. Melee, there are a couple of incredibly obscure unlock requirements for specific trophies. In Smash Bros. Brawl, they had trophies and stickers. Stickers basically being the precursor to spirits. And the trophies weren't too hard to unlock, there were only so many of those. But the stickers were a lot like spirits in Smash Ultimate in that there were a whole bunch, and you would just pick them up whenever. Which meant that in order to unlock every single one of them, you needed to roll the 1 in 1100 percentage table enough times until you got every single sticker. And unlocking the last sticker often was incredibly difficult, because you would just never happen to get that one random number generator. Great rest from Jigglypuff. Slightly unnecessary. She does avoid getting killed by Min Min, though, so it worked out. So they eased that pain in Smash Ultimate. If you don't have everything, then there's effectively a... Think of it as this way. On the spirit table, it'll have, say, 8 spirits you can fight. And there's a dedicated percentage, I'd say 25%. I'm just making that up off the top of my head. Great rest from Jigglypuff. Anyways, there will be a 25% chance it'll roll any spirit from the ones that you don't have. So if you need a particular spirit, you can unlock every other spirit first, and then you will guaranteed get the one you need. And for this match, we're going to have Peach against Banjo-Kazooie. Banjo and Kazooie? I've never really decided how I want to refer to those characters, because they very much are a team. One of them without the other is very underwhelming. That being said, there is a specific mechanic in Banjo-Tooie that lets you split them up to use their separate abilities, and do a couple of things like push 2 buttons down at the same time. Another interesting thing of note about Banjo and Kazooie as the character is that their amiibo model actually seems to be based off of their pre-game render. You can actually see a cropped version in the lower right corner near their character icon there. In Smash 4, all of the amiibos were posed to match their trophies in the game, which I thought was a really great touch. After multiple games of collecting all the trophies, it was really cool to get to collect the trophies in real life as well. And Smash Ultimate came out, and they gave everything the works. There isn't, I don't think, a single thing in this game that got untouched from Smash 4. Even if it was at least something was seen and verified to still be good. They pretty much went over absolutely everything. It's definitely not a port. They hardly even reused assets. A lot of characters got something redesigned about them. Either it's an animation for a move, or they got a whole new character model. Anyways, when the change from Smash Ultimate, all the default standard poses for the characters changed. There aren't even trophies in Smash Ultimate, so we don't get the trophy pose. You would normally unlock 1 to 3 of those for each character, depending on which Smash Bros. Game you're playing. Smash Ultimate doesn't have those, it has spirits instead. You can still tell, though, that for the character select, they did give each character a specific render pose. And when the amiibos came out for Smash Ultimate, none of them really matched the in-game poses. There was just a discrepancy, which I do understand. They didn't need to follow a theme that no longer existed. I just think it's interesting that Banjo and Kazooie's matches up just like it used to in previous games. So on to the tournament, not this specific match, because what I need to tell you is that this is the last match of this round of the preliminaries. So, as a recap, whoever loses this match will not be making it into the tournament. Then after this, we will have a couple more matches where everyone who wins does make it into the tournament. We're going to have 17 empty slots. We have 24 fighters, so we have them all fight each other once more. You're going to get 12 winners, 12 losers. Every winner will have enough room to have a spot in the tournament. Then there's going to be a couple left over, and we'll cover that when the time comes. And it does mean that in the next phase, losing will not necessarily leave you out of the tournament, but it obviously won't help you or increase your odds. Peach catches the grenade, and she does learn to throw it away before it blows up in her hands. Gets Banjo off stage, and she footstools him, but Banjo makes it back. A lot of grenade juggling happening there. Surprisingly, nobody got hurt. Banjo makes it up, as does Peach. Banjo's playing unnecessarily close to the edge of the stage. He did, of course, get sent there by Peach, but he should be taking a center stage position to ensure he doesn't die quickly. Up air is not enough to kill Banjo. Second one, also not enough. There is a mechanic in Smash Bros. Games called move staling. The basic summary is that if you keep spamming a move, it's going to get slightly less effective each time. Although a thing to know is that it will still deal damage each time. The damage will, of course, also be less. That's how it gets less effective as well. But if a character's at a high percentage and you almost killed them with a kill move, the next kill move, if you use it twice in a row, it will be slightly weaker, but normally the damage they took offset the weaker kill move, so that the next one will kill them. So, something to know, spamming moves is punished, but sometimes it can still be effective despite that. And our next match is going to be Lucario against Mewtwo. In case you missed the last match, a recap is that everyone who wins these next 12 matches will make it into the tournament. If you do not win, it is not guaranteed. Your odds are not great, but you still can make it in. It's just not guaranteed. There's a couple extra matches that are going to determine the last couple of spots. Raw up smash from Lucario. He did use it to punish Mewtwo's forward smash, so it did land. If Lucario had just a little bit more damage, though, that because of his aura mechanic, that probably would have killed Mewtwo. Mewtwo tried to get a jab out of his neutral air. I'm sure it can work, but the ramp of the platform he was on actually messed him over there. Funny these two characters are fighting because when Smash Bros. Brawl came out, Mewtwo did not return, but we got Lucario as a pseudo replacement. Obviously, a lot of Lucario's moves work differently, of course, but due to being a very popular Pokemon who has mysterious glowing hands, which you can actually see both characters have right now, and Aura Sphere being a very good replacement for Shadow Ball, the corollary seems pretty obvious, I'd say. Obviously, Lucario was never made to perfectly replicate Mewtwo. He doesn't have a tail, which Mewtwo uses in a lot of his moves. But something to know about Mewtwo in Smash Bros. Melee is that he wasn't a particularly effective character. A lot of his moves would hit the opponent and looked cool, but didn't particularly do much after that. So when the character slot, if you think of it that way, got reworked into Lucario, it was effectively seen as an upgrade. And then Smash 4 came out, and we got Mewtwo, and he basically got a balance patch to become effective, and then he was a fun character to play. It's interesting how that works out, that when a character gets what they need, they're suddenly very enjoyable, or at least more enjoyable than they otherwise would have been to play. Something I just noticed about the audience in the background is that some of them are moving, which is pretty unnerving because a lot of the others are not. I'd always assumed that they weren't moving and that they were like a bronze statue collection, kind of like certain real-life monuments. Knowing that some of them move and that some of them stand there lifeless, though, is not a happy thought. And Mewtwo, I guess, got a tech there faster than I could make out, and immediately spiked Lucario in retaliation. That was a terrible move from Mewtwo. The ramp made it so his forward smash went over Lucario's head. Lucario got a little bit extra range from his aura boost, which I believe is a thing, although now that I'm looking at his percentage, he really shouldn't have had that much, so forget that thought. But Lucario was able to hit Mewtwo and obviously take that stock. It does mean we're down to our last stock. Lucario at the current advantage, especially if Mewtwo keeps falling into these incessant up smashes. Curiously, Lucario didn't do an up smash that time. It would have also worked, though. Lucario charges up part of an Aura Sphere. Little interesting of a play to do. When you're at lower percentage, you don't have as much Aura, so Aura Sphere can't be charged up as much. Scooping with the up smash, though, that is going to kill Mewtwo. Which means that Lucario is making it into the tournament. And for a latch match of the video, we're going to have Jigglypuff against Lucas. That does mean we're getting Jigglypuff again, so I hope you're not disappointed by that. Jigglypuff did, of course, win her right to keep fighting to win her right to be in the tournament. I didn't know we were going to get this matchup. I only ran the seeds right before the previous match. I thought about running it ahead of time so I could at least start to be prepared after and have, for example, placeholders for whoever would win which match. But something about me, I just don't like knowing something that the audience doesn't get to know, if that makes any sense. Obviously, there are some things about this that will always be that way. And Jigglypuff lands the end of rest, which actually lets her charge and forward smash for longer. And by rest, I should have said sing. So when you get hit by the sing move, you go to sleep for a certain amount of time. Usually Jigglypuff hits you with the first sound wave from it. And then when you're already asleep, the other sound waves don't have any effect. But if you are tragic enough to land into the last one, then it effectively gives Jigglypuff the frame advantage of all of the time that she spent performing the move that you weren't slept by it. Which can also be a problem, because Jigglypuff, if given just a little bit amount of time, can perform a combo of some sort that can kill you. Usually it'll be, she'll land a move that combos into rest and kills you. You can also just go for it raw, which sometimes that works. It is, of course, more consistent if you use one of the pre-calculated setups that... I don't know who figured them out, but now everyone just knows them. And Lucas kills Jigglypuff with forward smash. He did it out of a down tilt. That's usually not exactly a true combo. It might have actually been on Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff is the second lightest character in the game, and is very floaty. So there are a couple of tricks and techniques that work on her that just don't work on other characters. Smash Ultimate actually did do a great job of standardizing the knockback formula so that there are a lot fewer, and just a random rest to kill Lucas. It works. Jigglypuff did take some damage for it. That is a risk inherent to the rest move, in that depending on if your opponent gets KO'd immediately, or if they get the falling into the skyline transition, they call that being star KO'd. That does take a different amount of time, which makes you less likely to get hit by something. Jigglypuff went for a rest there. She's lucky to still be alive. Lucas recovers. Jigglypuff tries to grab the ledge at the same time as him. That was something that you'd see a lot in Smash 4 as well. It's called ledge trumping. You can do it in Smash Ultimate, but there's not too many guaranteed setups out of it. So you mainly see it as a mind game. You get a move clash there. Moves, if they're strong enough, they can clash into each other, and then each character gets put in a basically recoil animation based off of the strength of the opponent's move. That seemed pretty evenly matched, and Jigglypuff did not release the up smash. So another key to playing Jigglypuff, when you land Sing, first of all you want to do forward smash. Jigglypuff's forward smash is a little bit slow, but it does at least hit decently hard. It's very difficult to land as a result if you haven't put your opponent unconscious, but it at least does the job when time comes. Anyways, the general tip for landing Sing into forward smash is that at about 70-ish percentage, depending on, of course, how well the opponent is at matching. That's when you can start, if you hit them, of course, with the first part of Sing, which you're usually going to be doing. If they're at 70%, that's when you can start hitting them with the forward smash, and a little bit after that, so I'd say maybe 80%, that's when it will start to usually kill. That is, of course, even more dependent on where you are on the stage. Obviously, if you're on the wrong end, it's probably not going to kill. But that is the general formula to go by. 70% lands the move, a little bit after that will actually kill him. Lucas using so much of his shield, he actually almost killed Jigglypuff with his up smash, but then she got him with the rest out of nowhere. The Jigglypuff special. That just got her into the tournament. That's all for this video. We've got a couple more matches coming up before the actual April Anger season starts. Hope to see you for those. But until then, bye.